Hi everyone, my name is Jayme Lindauer, and the disorder that I have researched about is the hoarding disorder. All of the information provided in the slideshows is from online sources, which are listed at the end of the slideshow, so you can take a look at that once we are finished. We're going to go ahead and get started. What I'm going to talk about today is the history of the disorder, when the disorder was found, treatment options, then and now, symptoms, criteria from the DSM-5, incidence and prevalence, cost involved, the etiology of the disorder. The references are listed at the end, as well as a short video clip that I thought was pretty neat. The history of the disorder. It has not been around for a long time. The first time that it was recognized in the DSM-5 as its own disorder was in 2013. At first, it was classified under another disorder, like OCD. The disorder was first started researched in 1991 at Smith College. A student had to do a thesis project, and she asked if anybody has written anything about this yet, and the instructor said no, so she took it on as her thesis project. She spent weeks researching, and another student decided to join her. After weeks of researching, many others decided to join in different laboratories. So in 2012, more than a dozen were studying this disorder. Eventually, it was named its own disorder after all the research was done. The treatment of the disorder: get help as soon as you can. That is the best option. You have to learn how to adapt to a healthy lifestyle if you want to change. There's also medication options out there. An antidepressant. It helps with calming you down, relieving stress, and pointing you in the right direction. There's also cognitive behavioral therapy. It's where a therapist actually goes to your house. They teach you how to cope with your problems and deal with the stress, and even talk you through cleaning up your house. So that's probably one of the best options they have out there. They help you make choices and do the best that they can. There are different treatments out there for different people. It depends how bad your disorder is. So there's certainly one for everyone. Symptoms of the disorder. This is how you know if you have it. They're very noticeable. You will have a house full of clutter. It's very hard to walk around and get around. They have difficulty throwing away possessions that mean no value to them. It gives them anxiety to throw away the items, and it causes them to be very stressed out. Other symptoms include stacking of newspapers, procrastination, trouble making decisions, limited or no social skills at all. They just like being at home in general. Not everyone shows all the same symptoms. Some show all of them. If you know someone who shows all of the symptoms provided, it's best to get an evaluation done as soon as possible. If someone shows one or two of the symptoms, you can wait and not get an evaluation done right away, but keep tabs on them, and if the disorder gets worse, definitely take them in to get an evaluation. The criteria, as described in the DSM-5, it's a book that explains each known disorder. The first year hoarding is listed was 2013, like I said earlier. It used to be a component of another disorder. Having its own disorder makes it known to the public and develop more research experiments to get more research out there to the general public so they are aware of the disorder. Prevalence and incidence, equally presented in men as it is women. Some say that it is found in children, as in girls, more than it is in boys. Some say more boys than girls. Research is still being conducted. It's very common in teens. It's just best to get it treated right away so that it doesn't get worse. As you get older, it tends to get worse. Families with hoarding, it's also a big problem in families. Hoarding can tend to break up a family. If you're a couple and one is a hoarder and one is not, they get in fights and often lead to divorce. So the divorce rate is very high in hoarders. Tension arises in the family. It's not a functional place to live. You can't even get to, say, the microwave or the refrigerator without having clutter in the way of the house. Costs. Their financial costs are not very well known, but if you add up the cost of treatment, the cost of cleaning, there is definitely a pretty pricey amount right there. Research is still being conducted and will hopefully be available in the next DSM book. Costs continued. There are also time costs. Recovery takes time. It doesn't just happen overnight. You want the hoarder to have time. They have to want to help themselves. You can't force them. Just remember, slow and steady wins the race. Etiology and cause of hoarding. They're still looking for causes. Some say it's difficult processing information. Some say it's grief and loss are also said to be. Some have trouble dealing with loss and they just give up. They start hoarding and keeping everything in their house. The current treatments are the same as the past, but they have added a new one in there. There's also called intervention. It's not recommended to be done, but intervention is when you take the hoarder out of the household, the family comes in and cleans, and then once the house is clean, you bring the hoarder back in, and the hoarder is very upset with the family. They often disown them, and it just causes a big fight. So that way is not recommended. But if it's the way that works for you, keep in mind you absolutely can do it. Do what's best for you and your family. There are different kinds of hoarding. There's animal hoarding, certain objects. Everyone has their own kind of hoarding, so not everyone's the same. I know the pictures in the slideshow are very hard to see. This one is of some dogs in a house, about 10 dogs. So that's one type of hoarding that is also somewhat popular. Here are the references listed. You can take a look at those. That's where all the information came from. And then I also have a short video that I'm going to play for you. I found it really interesting, and I hope you enjoy.
My house is like a jungle because there's a lot of like stuff in the jungle, and I think there's a lot of stuff in our house. I feel like I'm trapped inside.
For most 12-year-olds, home is a safe haven. But for David, this 4-bedroom house in suburban New Jersey is anything but.
My house is filled with clutter that most of it we don't really need or want. And there's stacks of piles of garbage. When my mom tries to clean up the house, like a lot of it will come right back.
Welcome to my kitchen. What's supposed to be my kitchen? It's a little messed up. This used to be my dishwasher, but it doesn't work. There's a lot of things in there that don't belong in there. And it doesn't close up either. We used to have a dining room table.
That is an example of a real-life hoarding situation. As you can see, it's not a place that anyone would want to live in. So if you know someone who has a hoarding disorder, get them help today. Don't wait. You don't want it to get worse. Thank you.